Hey, what's happening, y'all? It's your boy Rico from Street Scores, and like with every Rico report, it's a lot to talk about. This is the July 14th edition. I'm gonna talk about Chase Young and Chase Roullier injury updates. Also, is there a chance that Sam Howell could end up playing this season? Statistics show why. I'm gonna give y'all a really interesting statistic from John Com that explains that it's definitely more likely than you probably think, and definitely more likely than we hope, because I'm excited about Sam Howell, but if he's playing, that means a lot of things have gone wrong, and we're probably not in the playoff race, but who knows? Also, Ron Rivera recently spoke on the fact that he still wants to add pieces to the defense through free agency. Also, just a quick update on the Washington's 90 greatest players. Also, already told y'all that Terry McLaurin and Carson Wentz and a few other guys went to go work out and throw some passes, catch some passes with each other in California, but I never officially gave y'all an updated list of all of the exact names. And then of course, with every Rico report, lots of random stats, rankings, odds, opinions, all of that. There's no Rico report without at least a few of those. And then a quick Dan Snyder update before we get up out of here. But before we dive into all of that, make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit the bell next to the subscription button so you get notification immediately. And every time I release an informative and opinionated video just like this one, make sure you go join the best Washington Commander Discord doing it. Link is in the description. Of course, go become a channel member. That link is in the description as well. Also, be on the lookout for my Sunday live streams. I'm doing them weekly on Sundays, so make sure y'all pull up, because they'll more than likely be call-in shows almost every time, so y'all can call in and give y'all opinions on everything, and we're just chilling for like an hour or two. But without further ado, man, let's get it. Alright, so first of all, the reason why most of y'all are probably here, so I'll start with that, is the Chase Young and Chase Roullier injury updates. Well, from a report I've seen, it says, regarding the recovery of defensive end Chase Young from a torn ACL, Stan Digg talked to a doctor who was surprised Young needed a graft from his left patellar tendon to replace his ACL. He added there could be some difficulties for Young in his first year back. They said, quote, "I think for a pass rusher, how explosive you are off the line is one of the most important things. I think that explosiveness is the thing that probably will come back last," unquote. So that's definitely not great news to hear. Definitely a little worried about Chase Young, because even when he comes back and he's ready, and who knows when that will be, that may not even be week 1 of the regular season. But this doctor is basically saying that even when Chase Young comes back, we shouldn't expect him to be 100% himself. He's more than likely not going to be as explosive as he normally is, even before the injury. So we'll see how it goes. Maybe we need to dim our expectations for Chase Young this year just a little bit, even though I'm still expecting him and the entire defensive line to ball out, and we're going to talk about that a little bit later with some Pro Football Focus article that just came out recently. And then as far as Chase Roullier goes, our starting center, then Stan Digg said the Commanders center Chase Roullier is also coming off of a severe injury as he broke his fibula and fractured his ankle in late October. Quote, "There was some pretty serious things happening with my ankle," unquote, from Chase Roullier. Stan Digg also reported that the rehab has gone very well and that he's targeting a return in training camp. So that's good news. The Chase Young news isn't too good, but the Chase Roullier news, to hear that he's targeting a return in training camp, is really good, because I was worried about, will he miss some preseason games? Will he even miss like week 1 or week 2 of the regular season? So the fact that he's coming back for training camp, that's great news. At least that's what his goal is. That's when he's slated to return. That's when he feels like he should be able to return. So that's great, because having our starting center back is big, and we need him back as soon as possible so he can gain chemistry with 2 new guards. I mean, the guards starting to the left of him and to the right of him are completely new. He's never played with them before, so the sooner that we can get him back so he can start to gain that chemistry with the offensive line around him, that's going to be huge. You have Andrew Norwell starting the left guard, Trey Turner starting the right guard, and those guys have chemistry with each other, but they don't have chemistry with Samuel Cosme or Charles Leno or Chase Roullier in the middle. It's kind of weird. The center and the tackles have chemistry with each other, and then the 2 guards have chemistry with each other, but as a 5, may look a little ugly in the beginning, but I think ultimately they'll get it it down packed because, I mean, John Moskow's our best coach. Our offensive line has been top 5, top 10, even with crazy injuries plaguing our team. So I'm expecting greatness out of the offensive line regardless, but it would be nice to have Chase Roullier back as soon as possible. And then John Kahn brought up a statistic. He pointed out that Wentz and Heineke both have extensive injury histories and that Washington has started at least 3 quarterbacks in every season since 2017. Sam Howell is the 3rd quarterback. Hopefully that isn't true this season. Hopefully that doesn't happen this season. But man, that's an ugly statistic. I never really thought about that. Since 2017, we've started at least 3 different quarterbacks each of those years, including last season. So we'll see how this goes, man. Hopefully Carson Wentz can stay healthy the entire way, because again, I like Sam Howell. I'm excited about him, but if he's playing, that means a lot of things have gone wrong. Again, I'm really excited about Sam Howell, but even he admits it. He said, quote, "This is 2 different systems, I would say, between UNC and the Commanders. It was strictly shotgun in college, more of an air raid system. Here it is more of a pro style offense, more in the center, some more play action stuff, just some stuff that I didn't do in college that I have to get more comfortable with," unquote. So there's going to be a lot of mental and process and growing pains going from playing primarily in shotgun almost all the time, even quite a bit of read option in there, to being under the center and doing play action and then bootlegs off of that and things like that. So it's just a lot of things that he's gonna have to get comfortable with, and it's gonna have to become second nature so that he's not thinking too hard about the play, so he can focus on everything that's going around him, all of the changes live. If he's focusing too much on how to do things rather than reading and reacting, it's just gonna be overload for him. I don't really see Sam Howell playing in a game this season and succeeding. I mean, I think he may end up looking good in the preseason, but a regular season game, I don't know. And then Ron Rivera addressed the fact that, now that Terry McLaurin's been signed, we have Carson Wentz at quarterback, we drafted a few offensive pieces in the draft, that he basically wants to focus on the defensive side of the ball to finish out the offseason before we get to the regular season. As far as team building, he said, quote, "We've got to take a look at the defensive side. You look at what we have with the defensive line, you look at where we are with the tight end, running back, and now the wide receiver position after feeling very good about our quarterback position with Carson, with Taylor, and with Sam and Cole. You feel that's a good young room. It's the right kind of room. Now look at the defense. Look at where we are. Linebacker, adding some depth probably, looking at the defensive backs and feeling good and confident about that group. So there's still some work to do. We're not where we want to be in terms of that yet. I mentioned earlier, I talked about a 3-year plan and how it was adjusted each time you do something. Well, bringing Carson in, we had to readjust and evaluate. Getting Terry done, now we're going to readjust and evaluate, and that 3-year changes and how you can do things. There's a lot of work for us to do between now and the time we get ready for training camp. So even if we don't necessarily sign somebody before training camp, know that they are working and making a lot of decisions before training camp. And we'll see, man. Like I said, with the report from John Kahn that we could potentially sign Anthony Barr in August, and there's still a chance that we may even bring back Landon Collins. They're waiting until these young linebackers, because that's mostly what we're focused on as far as team improvement before the regular season goes. We're looking at like Khaleke Hudson, we're looking at Jamin Davis, we're looking at Derek Forrest, all of these guys, linebacker, Buffalo nickel. We're going to at least give them quite a bit of training camp, and we're going to give them at least a preseason game or 2 to show what they can do. If by then they don't look like they can play the part and truly contribute and play meaningful snaps in regular season games, and for us to win while doing so, then we'll probably go and look for outside help as far as free agency goes, Anthony Barr, or maybe a depth signing like a non-starter or whatever. But for now, they're going to give the young guys time, but up into training camp, they're definitely looking around. They're evaluating guys. I'm pretty sure Anthony Barr they've already looked at him. They know what they want. They know that he's on the list if they need him in August, but they're also probably looking around the league to see who could potentially get cut, all of that type of stuff, and who's already available. So don't be surprised before week 1, this roster looks a little different, even starter wise. Maybe there's a different starter. Also, of course, there was the drama with the Washington 90 greatest players. Well, they updated it to add Trent Williams and RG3. Not going to dive into that too much because y'all can definitely dive into that in the comment section, and I'm going to try to read the comments. Also, speaking of that, with my Sunday live streams, because I try to get to the comment sections of my videos, like the one you're watching right now, but if I don't, make sure if you have a specific question or anything, you can call up to the show on Sundays or even type it in the chat, in the live chat while I'm live streaming. I may be able to see it and reply to it. So again, if you have a question in a a video and I wasn't able to reply to it, I didn't get a chance to see it, definitely pull up to the Sunday live streams and ask that same question for sure. But yeah, man, they added Trent Williams and RG3 after there was an uproar. So definitely get in the comment section, let me know how you feel about all of that. That's the main reason I'm bringing it up, because I just want to see how everybody feels about it. Also, I already told y'all that Terry McLaurin and Carson Wentz were going to Cali to build on some chemistry, because again, Terry McLaurin missed all of OTAs, all of mini camps. So up until the point that he just went to Cali with Carson Wentz, he had never caught a ball from Carson Wentz. But now I want to also update y'all on all of the names that were actually there, because it was Terry McLaurin, Antonio Gibson, Carson Wentz, and we just knew it was some more people, but we didn't know exactly who. So now we know it was Carson Wentz, Terry McLaurin, Antonio Gibson, Jahan Dotson, Cam Sims, Taylor Heineke, Dax Milne, and Cole Turner, all out in Cali getting some work done, man, in their off time, in their downtime. I like it. And now we get to the fun part where we talk about a lot of different statistics and all kinds of stuff. I'm sure that a lot of y'all may already know this, y'all probably remember it, but just to remind y'all, John Bates, our tight end, had the highest Pro Football Focus run blocking grade ever for a tight end, ever. So is he already the best blocking tight end in the NFL? And that was only after his just rookie season. Last season was his rookie season, so that's amazing. But there's like a whole 2 minutes and 15-second highlight tape of him blocking people. And man, I mean, he was literally the sole reason for a couple of touchdowns just in that highlight tape alone. And then he was the one that was allowing bigger plays to happen even outside of just touchdowns and the shiny things. He was doing a lot of dirty work that he may not normally get credit for. It was just amazing. And so you could definitely see why Pro Football Focus feels like he was the best blocking tight end in the NFL last season. And I expect him to only get better and to be able to learn how to contribute in the passing game a little bit more, because that yards after catch ability that he has, he's not going to outrun people, but he's going to run people over, as we saw in that Cowboys game. We got blown out, but he ran a few people over to make up for it a little bit. Now, speaking of Pro Football Focus, they did an article on the biggest strengths and weaknesses of the Washington Commanders roster. They said our biggest strength is defensive line, understandably. They said even with the depth being chipped away with the losses of Tim Settle and Matt Ioannidis in free agency, Washington's defensive front remains the strength of the team. The likes of Jonathan Allen, Daron Payne, Chase Young ensure the defensive line has plenty of players that will cause problems for opposing offenses, particularly if Young can take a step forward in his development. Washington was top 7 last season in pressure rate, and it did it with an underwhelming season from Young. I'm surprised they didn't mention Fadarian Mathis, and super surprised they didn't mention Montez Sweat. They said our biggest strength is defensive line. I could definitely see the argument there. I think offensive line, once they get their chemistry down, once we know for sure that Trey Turner and Andrew Norwell are seamless replacements to Eric Flowers and Brandon Sheriff, if we can get like the 2017 version of those two guys out of them this season and moving forward, then you can definitely argue our offensive line will be one of our biggest strengths, probably like a close second. And then biggest weakness, of course, they said linebacker. They said Jamin Davis needs to take a big step forward in his development after struggling as a rookie on his way to an overall Pro Football Focus grade of 46.8. Davis has the athletic profile of a star at that position, but you can see the processing time during his rookie season. Transitioning to the NFL as a linebacker has become extremely difficult in today's game, and how far he goes in year 2 is an unknown. And I can definitely see the argument for linebacker being our biggest weakness right now, but I think secondary is a very close second with, I mean, we got to see if Percy Butler balls out, because do we really trust Bobby McCain starting for us for a full season? And with the way William Jackson looked the first half of last season, will he look like that the first half of this season as well? Or is he going to look more like the second half of last season? And then Kendall Fuller, Pro Football Focus loves him. I think they had him graded as like the second best corner in the NFL last year, and I definitely disagree with that. And on top of that, I mean, I'm just not sure if Kendall Fuller can really hold it down as a true lockdown outside corner opposite of William Jackson. He had some ups and downs last year, and he just wasn't very consistent to me. I mean, when he made plays, he made some really good plays, but how consistent is he going to be? And then Benjamin St-Juste, I'm really excited about him. So far through off-season workouts, he's been the only corner that's been able to give Jahan Dotson any problems. But they're considering starting him in the slot, and I still feel like he would be better off having a boundary to help him, even though he does have better change of direction and short area quickness than he should for a guy his size. But just from previous tape from him in college and even him last year, felt like he was better on the outside than in the slot. But so far in offseason workouts, he's been killing it in the slot. So I guess we'll see. And also, I'm worried about his concussion injury situation. Hopefully he can stay healthy. So we'll see, man. I mean, the linebacker group has questions and the cornerback group has questions as well. Next Next up, former NFL running back Robert Turbin. In a recent edition of NFL Total Access, Turbin made some bold predictions for the 2022 season, and one of those predictions was that the Commanders would win the NFC East. He said, quote, Washington Commanders are winning the NFC East. And after he said that, his fellow co-hosts, including Bucky Brooks and Willie McGinnis, proceeded to laugh at Turbin's prediction, but then he went on to explain why he believes the Commanders can win the NFC East. He said, quote, the Commanders, Carson Wentz, not the greatest quarterback, but certainly an upgrade from everyone else they've had. And the key here, Ron Rivera knows how to rebuild a franchise. He did it in Carolina. He's the coach that I trust out of every coach in that decision right now, unquote. Also, Antonio Gibson responded to critics. He said, quote, I love the hate. But where did that come from? Well, ESPN put together a top 10 running backs list going into this season, and he didn't make the list. He wasn't even an honorable mention. So Antonio Gibson tweeted out, I love the hate, and with good reason, man. Gibson was one of only 7 running backs to rush for over 1,000 yards last season. And they got Ezekiel Elliott over him. At this point, it's crazy. And Saquon, love him, extremely talented, but he hasn't done anything. To be 7th in rushing and to not even make the top 10 or even an honorable mention, which was at least the top 13, is kind of crazy. But Antonio Gibson, man, hey, go out there and show them. Stop fumbling and show everybody that you deserve to be considered a top 10 running back. The talent is there for sure. Also, just an update, Washington is starting -4 over the Jaguars in the opener. So that's really exciting, but do not take the Jaguars lightly, I'm telling y'all. Also, PointsBet USA has Washington at plus odds of plus 165 to make the playoffs. Also, they have some betting lines for Jahan Dotson and Terry McLaurin. For receiving yards for Jahan Dotson, they have over under 600.5 yards. For receiving touchdowns, they have over under 3.5 touchdowns for Jahan Dotson. For Terry McLaurin, they have receptions over and under 74.5. For receiving yards, they have 999.5, and for receiving touchdowns they have 6, over or under for all 3. Also, before we do a quick update on Dan Snyder, even though I don't like to talk about that type of stuff, but I just want to make sure that I report everything and make sure y'all are kept up and informed on everything that's going on with the team, even off the field wise if I have to. But before we go, apparently there's some reports from some trustworthy Eagles sources that Jalen Hurts has been looking really bad in offseason workouts so far. They said, quote, one person said, let me give you a scenario of what he went through in one day of practice. It was a 10-play scenario. He had 3 picks, 4 incompletions, and 3 sacks. So all 10 plays were negative plays, 3 picks, 4 incompletions, and 3 sacks. Technically, the best plays out of the 10 were the 4 incompletions. And y'all already know I'm not a big Jalen Hurts believer, but at the same time, I mean, it's off-season workouts, man, so I'm not going to read into that too much, but I did want to let y'all know that that's a thing that's been reported. And so if Jalen Hurts looks crazy this upcoming season, if he's out there looking terrible, there was a little foreshadowing. But again, I mean, it's just off-season workouts. First of all, how trustworthy is the source? And again, secondly, it's July and those practices were happening in June. So we'll see how much any of that really matters, because if he goes out there and balls out, then clearly it didn't matter. And then just a quick update on Daniel Snyder. The House Oversight Committee and Commanders owner Daniel Snyder appear to have a potential date for Snyder's deposition. However, the committee is insisting it be under a subpoena and not voluntary, as Snyder's side is offering, quote, the committee accepts your offer for Mr. Snyder to testify on the subjects under investigation by the committee on July 28th. We'll proceed with a subpoena in place to ensure that Mr. Snyder's testimony will be full and complete. And John Keim explained that Congress is insisting on a subpoena so that Snyder is mandated to answer questions. If he testifies voluntarily, he can evade questions, specifically related to any non-disclosure agreements, which is an area being investigated by the committee. But then shortly after that, it was reported that the Washington Commanders owner, Dan Snyder, will not testify under a subpoena. So he's trying to do that voluntary testimony rather than subpoena version so he can dodge a lot of questions. And of course, there's a lot more information. If you care to know more about that, the information is definitely out there, but I just wanted to update y'all on the basics of what's going on right there. But yeah, man, that's the end of this video. Please get in the comment section, let me know how you feel about everything discussed in this video, the injuries, the ranks, the opinions, the grades, the stats, all of that type of stuff, man. Definitely get in the comment section, let me know how you feel about everything discussed in this video. Please leave a like on this video if you liked it. If you learned anything, like I said, make sure you join the Discord group. make sure you go become a channel member. All of that stuff is in the link in the description of this video. Also, make sure y'all go pull up and get ready for all of the Sunday live streams going all the way through training camp, preseason, regular season, all of that. We are officially in weekly live stream season. And of course, man, I appreciate all of the support, man. Shouts out to all of y'all that pulled up to the last live stream and donated, became channel members, all of that type of stuff, man. I really appreciate y'all. Shouts out to all of my sponsors, especially my Pro Bowl sponsors whose name you see scrolling on the screen right now. Man, I really appreciate y'all. I'll catch y'all later. I'm out.